Hello and welcome everyone to today's presentation, which is about two very important structures and expressions, used to or be or get used to. So let's start by looking at used to as a modal verb. Used to is a semi-modal verb actually. And what is its concept? Used to tells us about a fact or habitual action in the past. For example, a fact can be, I used to smoke. What does this mean? It means I did this in the past, but not anymore. For a habitual action, we could say, he used to jog twice a week. What does this mean? He did this before, but not now. So action, fact, or something that was true in the past, but no longer in the present. That's the concept of used to as a semi-modal verb. Now, you might ask, are there alternatives? Do we have to use used to express this idea? No, not necessarily. There are two alternatives, right? One is the modal verb would. Now, would can only be used for habitual actions, not for facts. So we can't say, when I was a student, I would smoke. That doesn't work. But we can say, when he was a student, he would jog twice a week. A habitual action, that's fine. You can also keep it really simple and use the past simple tense instead of used to, but used to is preferred. It's more specific. The listener knows you're talking about habitual action or a fact rather than one single action in the past. So you can say, if you want, when I was a student, I smoked. Or when he was a student, he jogged twice a week. Right, that's all for concept and alternatives. Now, a quick word about formulation. Why do we say used to is a semi-modal verb, not a modal verb? That's because it only ticks 3 of the 4 modal rules. Let's go through these modal formulation rules. The first one is that a modal verb is always followed by the base verb. That's the infinitive without to. And used to fits this description. I used to smoke. The second rule is that a modal verb has the same form for all pronouns. And used to ticks this box as well. I used to, you used to, he used to. No change to its form, right? The third rule for modal verbs is that a modal verb cannot combine with another modal verb. That's true for used to. We can't say he used to can. That doesn't work. We need to find an actual verb. He used to be able to jog uphill, for example. The only rule that it doesn't tick is rule number 4, which says for modal verbs that modal verbs take direct question and negative forms. That is not the case with this used to. We can't say I used to not smoke. We must use the auxiliary verb did. Did she used to smoke? No, she didn't used to smoke. And notice that once we've used the auxiliary verb did or didn't, used, the D disappears and we are left with use. Did she used to smoke? No, she didn't used to smoke. But of course, as far as pronunciation is concerned, we can't hear this difference. Why? Because the letters D, D, and T have the same articulation points, so we cannot hear the difference between used to and used to. Basically, we see here the same thing. We can only see this difference in writing. Right, so that's all about used to, its formulation, its concept, its alternatives. And so what about expressing a fact or a habitual action in the present? Do we have something similar to used to? For example, used to without the D? No. There is no equivalent of used to for a fact or habitual action in the present. Be very careful. We just use the present simple tense when we speak about a fact or a habitual action in the present. For example, before he used to jog twice a week, now he jogs once a week. The mistake I sometimes hear is thinking, logically of course, used with D. Used to in the past, habit in the past. Used to for the present. No, used to doesn't exist, right, on its own. Right? Or when I was a student, I used to smoke. Nowadays, I don't smoke. Not I don't used to smoke. Again, it's a very common mistake. I hear it all the time. Be careful with this. Okay, so that's all about facts, habitual actions in the past, in the present. What is this? Oh, now I need to mention one thing, and that is if you want to emphasize that an action is habitual, you can use the adverb usually. You can say he usually jogs once a week. That was a little point I forgot to mention. Right, now we can look at this other expression. It's not a modal verb or a semi-modal verb, it's an expression, be or get used to. This expression is composed of three parts: the verb be or get, an adjective used, and a preposition to, right? And what this does, it expresses your feeling or attitude towards something. It's got nothing to do with a fact in the past. Now, alternatives for this expression in this context are accustomed to, okay with, fine with. So you can say, when you say, I'm used to spicy food, you're just saying, I don't mind spicy food. I'm accustomed to spicy food. I'm okay, I'm fine with spicy food. It's got nothing to do with it being a fact or a habitual action. Now, what about the formulation? Well, of course, because it's the verbs be or get, this expression can be in any tense or any structure. For example, before my trip to India, I wasn't used to spicy food. During my stay there, I gradually got used to it. My partner tried it, but she couldn't get used to it. And most of my friends aren't used to spicy food either. So you can see it in different tenses and structures, right? It's not a fixed thing like used to as a semi-modal verb. Right, what is very important to remember with this expression is that because the word to in this expression is a preposition, if instead of a noun like spicy food, you put a verb after this, to, you must use the gerund, doing. So, for example, I'm used to eating spicy food. She's getting used to waking up early. Don't forget your ing after this expression. So the final thing I want to repeat and reiterate is that there is a big difference in meaning between used to and be used to or get used to. So the mistake I hear, and I'm encouraging you not to make, is using this expression, be or get used to talk about a habitual action or a fact. This expression is about feelings and attitudes. So it would be very strange for you to say to someone, are you used to driving to work every day? Now, it's a correct sentence, but it's like, I just don't get what you're asking me. If your intention is to find out, is this your habit, is this a fact for you, you have to use the present simple tense. Do you drive to work every day? Use this expression only with actions that can be challenging for someone, especially in the beginning. For example, are you used to driving on the left? Because everywhere in the world, or most places in the world, you drive on the right-hand side of the road. So you come to the UK and it's a bit challenging, it's a bit difficult. That's where this expression belongs. Are you used to driving on the left? It just means, are you comfortable? Are you fine with driving on the left? Okay, that's the end of the presentation. I hope it has clarified the difference. I hope it's been useful to you. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. For more on this topic, click here. Remember to also check out my complete online course and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and happy studies!